Law Friday presented by Florida Women's Law Group. My name is Betsy Corbett and I'm part of the marketing department. Family Law Friday is designed to be a resource for all women with a family law issue. Today we will be discussing child custody and time sharing and if you may have to relocate at some point. Before we get started, I wanted to give you some information about our host, Heather Quick. Heather is the founder and owner of Florida Women's Law Group that advocates for women in North Florida. The firm educates and empowers women on the law so that they can find the strength to endure the process and come out better both financially and emotionally. She's been a licensed Florida attorney for the last 20 years, with most of her practice being in family law. Please join me in welcoming Heather Quick to Family Law Friday.
Thank you, Betsy, and thank you all for joining today. In the continuation of our discussion about children and divorce and post-divorce, wanted to touch on time-sharing agreements with your spouse and relocation. I have seen over the past few years just an increase in relocation, and I think that has to do certainly with how mobile our society is. And currently, I think with the changes we've all experienced from 2020, there is an opportunity to have more mobility and more job opportunities grow. Sometimes that requires you relocating. Sometimes now more things can be virtual than have thought ever before. Or now maybe your job is virtual and you're like, I don't want to live in Northeast Florida anymore. I don't have family here. I want to go elsewhere. So I want to talk about I'm going to talk about relocation, and I'm going to refer back, because if you are in a situation right now where maybe you're getting ready to divorce, you're thinking about a divorce, but you really don't want to stay in this area, this is a great time to listen to this video. This is also great information if you know, even if you've already been divorced, you have a parenting plan, time sharing agreement, but you want to go somewhere else, this will help you as well. It's just the more you know when you're going through anything, I think the better you can plan. And these are really important issues because relocation can be a very challenging situation. And many times it goes to court most of the time. So it's you really got to be willing to invest in this endeavor. So I am doing this video to help you see what it takes. And of course, we'll tell you that in our office, if I think you have enough or not, because when we're taking on an issue and going to litigate it for you, our goal is to achieve your goals, which in my book is winning. So very competitive person that sometimes doesn't, sometimes that is definitely a downfall for me, but I'm extremely competitive. So if our client wants something and I think we can get it, but you have to, these are all the things we have to do in order to get it, that's what I'm talking about for you. You got to do that, because then we don't have a chance. And when I say the things you have to do, let's talk about you're in the original divorce or paternity action. You're really trying to figure out what's the time sharing schedule going to be. I have seen this in the past, many women have just agreed to whatever to be done. You're doing the best you can at the time, but I just tell you now, think about your future. Because when you come to me the second time and say, now I want to change all this, I was so weak, I was so tired, I just didn't want to deal with it. Fair enough, okay? And you owned it, you saying, I didn't want to deal with it. Don't be shocked when I tell you what it's going to take to change it, if that's even possible. If you watch my videos, the last thing I want to tell a client is, I don't think this is possible. I don't think I can undo what you have done or change it. Certainly, I don't want to say that, but I will if that's in fact the case. So what I'm hoping to tell you is, all right, this is what we can do. It may be an uphill battle, but I see the light. I see the way we can build your case. If you're in the middle of something and you're like, I just can't deal with him and I've got to agree to whatever he wants, you're going to pay for that later with your life, because he has complete control over your future, and it's going to be very difficult for you to make changes. That's a mindset issue that requires you to really be able to stand up for yourself, find an attorney who is supporting you and standing up for yourself and what you ultimately want to do. If you just agree to 50-50 and, all this time, and he then exercises it, and you do it just because you don't want to fight, not because you think it's the best, not because you think he genuinely wants to spend the time with the kids, you just do it. That's unfortunate for you, is all I'm going to say. It's a bad choice if you're not doing it for the right reasons. So think about your future when you are negotiating, discussing what is going to happen right now with your children, because it will come back later if in fact you want to go back home to Texas, Georgia, DC, wherever. It's important to have that discussion now, because it's never an easy road or a smooth road to relocation, but much harder depending on if you have certain things you've agreed to originally. So that being said, understand that now also, okay, so let's say you are in that situation, the divorce is finalized a couple years ago or however many long ago, and you agree to a time schedule. One of the first things I'm going to ask you is he exercising it? Is he utilizing all that time with the children? How is that going with your children? That may be an opportunity for you to, for us to explore if he's not and you're wanting to relocate. And it does need to be more than, at the end of the day, yeah, I understand you want to relocate, but we need to have a lot of things in place. A new job, a better living situation, a better schooling situation is ideal. And at the end of the day, what we have to prove is that this is going to be good. This is going to be in the best interest of the children. The courts and the case law always say, hey, clearly it's in the best interest of the parent. You're going to have to show how this is best for them. And that can be tricky. And so that's why it's important to understand that, the amount of time that they have with father and how involved he is, that may be a situation where it's going to be so unlikely that you can relocate. There are cases where women have been remarried, their husband gets transferred, a new job, and the courts are not going to allow it. So it is so important just to understand that when you're in this divorce and you're, agreeing to things, the state of Florida and your ex-husband have a lot of control over your life as long as you have a minor child. So just please be aware of that. Don't enter into this lightly, even though you could never imagine, getting remarried or doing other things. Stand up for yourself and your children during your original dissolution. Understand what you're doing and understand how it will impact your future, because that is, it's important. This is the future, your future as well as your children. So when relocation is something that you're wanting, there are about 20, 25 factors. We generally will give them to you and say, this is the stuff you've got to know: where you're going to live, the schooling, like I said, who their doctors will be, your new job, your standard of living, where would you live, what would be the proximity. Sometimes it can be very helpful because maybe even your ex's family members are nearby. Like, all of those things matter. Maybe one of those things in and of itself isn't that significant. It's the entire picture. It's every single thing that would support that would then support it being good for your children. One time we did have a case, and the husbands did have family members where they're relocating, and in part of the case, it's like he'll have a place to stay if he wants to come there to visit, which does minimize cost in, when he's seeing the children. A lot of things like that, but the biggest thing I can tell you today that I really want you to understand is relocation is challenging because we're looking to alter the time sharing, the relationship that the children have with their father, and how is this going to impact that. So that's why it is important at the very beginning of the divorce and during the original divorce, if that is in your, it's already just in your mind, like, this I feel like is something that's going to happen. Like, I know my job, there's going to be upward mobility, but I'm going to have to do X, Y, Z. At least discuss it with your attorney, or talk to us so that we can guide you on, well, this is what we would advise this would be the position maybe you would take in the original divorce, and or what compromises you should make in order to achieve, a compromise from your spouse for something that may help you down the road if you're looking at moving, or you just think it's a possibility. We can't all predict the future, and unfortunately, you cannot agree to say, hey, I'm going to agree that we will move in 2 years. You can run into some issues with that, with some of the law, like they can't say, you can't say what's going to be in the child's best interest 2 years from now. So it does have to be quite timely for now. So those are some of the things that I really wanted to touch on, because not everyone is aware of really the intricacy and the difficulty that can be present when relocating, and in some ways that maybe we can make that easier for you and just help you understand overall what that is going to look like for you, down the road. So if you or someone is, whether they're going through the divorce, but they're going to want to move, or you're contemplating that now, you just see that there are some opportunities in your future that's going to require you to move, please reach out to us. Let us help guide you through that process, because if, with the right strategy and guidance, these things are, and they can be achievable. But you really want someone who understands the intricacy of relocation and what it's going to take in order for you to prevail. So thank you for watching today. Betsy will give you the details on how to reach out to us and discuss how relocation may be appropriate for you and what it's going to take in order to change your current orders.
Thank you, Heather, and thank you to everyone that was able to watch today. If you have a question about child custody or family law or divorce, please give us a call at 904-241-0012 or look for us on the internet at floridawomensLawGroup.com. Thanks.